save time, save time, save time. And what does that do? I always say this, like if you're not trying to win these really high margin work, like being a builder is stressful. It's really, really hard to grow your business to a point where you can get off the tools without using systems.
Just hearing this, I feel like I'm starting to swim against the current with piranhas. Julian, big thanks for jumping on today.
No problem, mate. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure to hang out with you.
Agreed.
Big thing that I wanted to have you on here today about is just the epic results that we're seeing and hearing from guys on your software that are putting these things in place versus the guys who essentially don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe in short for the listeners, what is BuildXact and what does it do? Why is it important?
Yeah, so we're an end-to-end estimating and job management software. So for the most part, outside of accounting software, generally probably the software you're going to need to use daily to run your business. So getting your quotes out to a customer, scheduling the work, managing the project efficiently, and making sure you're actually making money at the end of it.
Yes, that's important.
Yeah, really important that people need to learn how to use a system and process as efficiently as possible, because the amount of time you save from that is ridiculous.
Yeah. On that point, I know you mentioned a story off camera before we jumped on. That question of how much time, and that's a hard thing to quantify sometimes. But you've had some great stories, but one in particular that stood out to me. Do you want to share that? Just like how much time people can save sometimes? Yeah,
well, it was actually from a recording that I was doing when we were doing an event in Sydney.
Yeah.
And when I finished the recording, we just, the conversation became more casual and we started talking about more things. And he was telling me that when he's used BuildXact, he's actually saved more time than he thought he was going to save. Okay. So initially, sometimes it's like, I don't want to be stressed. I want to spend more time with my family, which he got that. But he actually, as he started using the system more and more and more, he became more and more efficient, saved more time. He's now learning to play the saxophone, which is like, it's actually funny because I would like to learn to play the saxophone as well, but it was just this, like he kind of maybe always wanted to do it, but he's just felt that he's now had more time to focus on his interests outside of work and family and stuff.
That's impressive, because learning instrument is not, it's not as easy as watching a YouTube video. It takes a lot of time, effort, attention, consistently.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the thing. He's able to do that. This isn't just like he can go play golf once every few weeks. Like this is something that he can do weekly and learn and play the instrument. Sometimes all of us can find that one-off free time, but having the ability to do it on a consistent basis is the tough part.
What attracted you to become a part of BuildXact, work with a team there, and why have you stuck with them?
Yeah, well, I was at MYOB before, so I used to look after bookkeepers and accountants, and was kind of in the role for a while. And I'm probably naturally one of those people that when I do find a role that I like, I tend to stick with it unless you give me a reason to move. That's just probably my personality type. And when I joined BuildXact, before that I was working with bookkeepers and accountants on apps to recommend to their clients. I was trying to get them very much in line of don't work with a million different industries, focus on one industry. And I used to always focus on trade and construction apps. Okay. So I used to talk about ServiceMate, Tradeify, a lot of these other smaller trade apps. And I just it fell on my lap, really. I didn't kind of go out and look for it. It was someone I used to work with brought me into the company. And I just loved the feel of the company. I'd worked in this really corporate environment where, everything is slow and cumbersome and stuff. And I kind of got through a couple of interviews at BuildXact and I was like, these guys just see something and they do it and they move and they're solving a real problem. And at the time, I felt like MYOB wasn't really doing that as much as they maybe could be doing. And just got started at BuildXact, spoken to a few customers, like as I joined, felt that, they were really helping those builders. Yeah. And that's for me was the main thing. I want to work somewhere where I actually feel like I'm benefiting the end customer and not kind of, not having much
totally
impact.
Agree with that.
So
totally agree with that. And that's quite a unique and probably pretty useful background coming from something like that, because that's a big challenge with BuildXact or guys going, well, it needs to talk to my zero or my having that background knowledge, no doubt useful.
Yeah, for sure. I think just anything with systems in general and how important they are to get it right, I think is a massive help when you're trying to talk to people about implementing a system and why they need to do it, why they need to change what they're doing. It all makes a big difference and helps for sure.
On that, what are some of the classic symptoms that you see with builders? Because one reason I was excited to chat with you is sometimes I'll be talking to a builder and it's like, it's great fit. And one thing we always look for is, are they bringing in systems? You know, they say they want to grow, but are they taking action towards it? Are they working with or have a mentor or things like that? And definitely systems are a big thing. Sometimes I'll chat to them and they're like, yeah, we're here. And it's like, okay, and you want to go to there? Awesome. You know, are you using BuildXact? Are you using XYZ? No, just using spreadsheets. And it's like, wow, man. One, well done for getting where you are with that. But there's so much opportunity there, you know. Yeah. What are some of the symptoms that you commonly see with these guys that, like, they don't know what they don't know sometimes?
Yeah. Well, I always try and take like a personal view to what they're doing outside of their business as well as inside their business. And generally what you tend to see is really long hours, not spending time with their family, exhausted, run down, can't get back in touch with customers quickly. So it means their business is kind of in a position where they're probably taking on work that is less optimal for their business.
Okay.
And their ability to view the performance of that job and the business overall is really weak. But right. I think most people initially come to us because they're like, manual estimating and takeoffs is a pain for me.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the time it delves a lot deeper. And why is it a pain? What's it stopping you doing? And those kind of areas, yeah.
Do you find that the guys have a level of an epiphany sometimes on that sort of conversation?
Yeah, honestly, the online takeoffs and seeing it, that's the first time where they're like, oh, that's actually way quicker than using...
I'm someone who really... I'm not a builder at all.
Yeah.
Talk me through that takeoff. What is that?
So if you get a paper plan, normally what a builder would do is sit there with a scale rule and a pencil. And if you've got a wall or, and you go around a floor plan, you need to look at the carpeted area or a tiled area, they will sit there and measure every single little wall and add it in to get a simple measurement.
Right.
And they're doing that 500 times. So for most people, like if you've come from anywhere software related stuff, you see that stuff and you're just like, that's mental. And that people would have said that 10, 15 years ago. But people are so ingrained into doing the same thing. I went through school. That's how they taught me. It was an older bloke teaching me in school. That's what they did when they were a builder. They've retired now. They're teaching. That's how they've taught me. I've just started, or my dad was running the business and now I'm doing it. Yeah. And you just get in this like snowball effect of doing the exact same thing.
Yeah,
harder and
I think
harder
that's
and harder
very common because you're pretty much learning the same framework that your mentor learnt 30 years ago. So you're learning a 30-year-old process unknowingly, thinking that's just, and if that's been most of your exposure, then that's all he knows, man.
Yeah. So I mean, when we show them how to do that, and it's okay, well, this particular thing might save you a couple of hours every project. Yeah. Okay, win. All the other little areas, save time. And what does that do? And that's the important thing, I think, is like delving into what that benefit is. And it might just be watching Netflix in the evening and Bachelorette or Bachelor or Married at First Sight or whatever it is.
No judging.
No judging. But that's the thing that people initially come to us for, and that's the time part.
Yeah, right. And what do you? We might jump around in the conversation today, but on that point of they don't have this extra time, one thing I'll be jumping back into in this conversation today is like your 1%ers. You guys as a team are interacting with builders all the time. You would know those builders that are just the peak performers, consistent. Absolutely. Where do they spend that extra time?
On the business, generally. Like that's what and you guys will probably see this to some degree as well. The people that are probably coming to you guys, generally, I would imagine, are the ones that are forward thinking, have got processes, have got people that want to help them with their marketing. They know exactly who the client is going to be, or they're coming for you to maybe fine tune that. So those people already have either some systems and processes in, or they know they need it. Then there's the other group that just don't know they need anything, and they're kind of like just seeing what's out there and
this is just the way
just kind
it
of like
is,
walking in the dark a little bit and seeing what they can touch, But the good ones really get it straight away, and they ask the right questions, and they know exactly what they want to do from the system. Yeah, right. For sure.
What in terms of like that first next thing? What do you? Let's say someone came to you and they, because you get those guys that are that top 1%, ask the right kind of questions, but they're just so early, they just haven't gotten there yet. They're still acquiring the knowledge, still acquiring processes and systems and frameworks. They get BuildXact, they get their time back. What would you recommend, or what do you often see guys spend that next? What's the next thing they focus on?
Winning the right client. generally. Assuming they've got the BuildXact part learned and they're managing their processes correctly, that always tends to be every survey for years that comes out, what do people need? More leads, the right leads is always the top one. It's generally not how do I squeeze more money out of a job or how do I make sure my pricing is accurate. It's generally I want the right clients, because most people know if you get the right clients in, your job's going to run a lot smoother. You're going to probably make the right amount of money for it. You've got less battles to do with the client, and that a lot of that stuff comes directly from how efficient your current processes are and how quick you can get things done. Because if you're working every night quoting, how are you going to spend time on the business? Because you're on site all day, you're working at night,
and your mind is not fresh.
And then what's going to happen is you're just going to get, there's a client come in, I've got no clients lined up. There's a client in, quick, we make sure we win that work. The client said
drop the margin, try and win it.
And you just all of a sudden you guys have seen this time and time again, but you just get caught in this like low margin work because that's all you've got, because that's the only thing that's coming to your doorstep at the moment. So
like you're literally swimming against the current.
Yeah.
Exactly. Why can't I get
with piranhas in there?
That's a good analogy.
Or a shark.
Or a shark. Yeah. I watched The Meg 2 the other day.
Did you? Yeah. I've not brought myself to watch that. I don't know if
it is
if I
really corny, but
Didn't they do one with the tornado as well? Or was that that's Sharknado, isn't it?
It could be. But I'm a fan of Jason Statham, so.
Oh, is he in it? Okay. Yeah. Might need to check it out.
1 and 2. Okay, awesome. So what are some other things, continue that conversation on those 1%ers. What are some of the things you see those guys do really well? Because you guys have a unique relationship with these builders.
Yeah.
You're seeing from a numbers perspective, how things are flowing. And then you could see the numbers for the builders that are succeeding. And you're seeing the numbers for the builders that are stuck swimming, they're busy transitioning out of that, swimming against the current with the piranhas. What are some of the key metrics or things that you guys have begun to sort of go, that if you just get that to there, that's going to make a big difference? What are some of those things maybe?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it comes into some of the work that we do with some of our other partners, Exact Accounting and some of those guys as well, in terms of how the profit and the job costing works. And if you're not job costing correctly, you're not going to have visibility to data in terms of how the job's performing. If you don't have that, how are you going to manage that process and where you're going to end up profit-wise? So that's something that those guys are super, super, super drilled down on. They know exactly where the money's going, when it's coming in, when it's coming out, how the job's tracking, and then where I'm likely to finish up on a profit end. And again, I always say, you guys will see this as well, but when you talk to some of these builders, they know exactly everything. They know exactly how much they spend. They know exactly how much certain things cost. They know where their profit margins are at. They know what's a good job straight away. They don't have to fight against that kind of conversation of trying to justify their work and things like that. So they have things so spot on. And look, I mean, I speak to some builders that run just a really bad profit margin, and you're like,
what is that? That's always a big topic, and I love it when some of the guys that come on board with us talk to some about the guys, either in conversation or on calls or whatever at events, and it's like, man, how have I not been charging X? Where I've been sitting. What have been some of the margins you're seeing guys when they come to you initially and they got all sorts of problems you help them solve, versus the guys that are crushing it?
Yeah, I mean, you'll see like 10%, 8% sometimes on some jobs.
Okay.
And it is just a dropping your pants on the price to win the project. And I think some people kind of feel a bit of, if I don't do it, I've got no money coming in. At least it's some money. You put some food on the table, and the problem is that you just never get out of that. And 2020, 21 with COVID, material price rises, all that kind of stuff. Like, we lost a lot of people in the industry because of things like this. It is changing though. I do feel like that is starting to sink into people now. And I think there's a lot more education out than what there was. I think
that's one of the big benefits that have come out of the last couple of years.
For sure.
Yeah. Content, mass market being a bit more educated on, I guess I kind of need to, and this is still talking to a good client, you're still going to get those crappy clients where you don't want them, that they will bargain you down until it's cost. You know, don't touch them. But the ones that can respect and go, you know what, I probably do need to pay you a healthy margin so that you can finish my job. Yeah.
And I mean, on the other side of it, we've had people doing sort of 30, 40+% margin.
Fantastic.
I mean, those are the probably higher end projects where the customer is probably trying to bid for the builder. We see sometimes those sort of areas. But it's all relative. I think those guys maybe don't need as much process because they've got the customer waiting for them. The customer's lined up.
Whatever they say the process is, the customer goes,
yeah,
sounds good.
Cool, sure. But if you're at that 10%, you're trying to get to 20, 25, you better put process in your business because you're not going to get anywhere close to that by just trying to do that because you're attracting a 10% margin client. You're everything around your business.
And sometimes unknowingly.
Unknowingly.
It's like, why do I just keep attracting these people?
It's like, I've got a website, I've got a few pictures of what I build, I've got a contact page. Why am I only getting these clients that want a gold house for, a house built out of hay, like the three little pigs,
Oh, man. Okay, so if we jump back into BuildXact and just what exactly it is and what it does, and then I want to jump into some other things. Give me a bit of a synopsis of BuildXact.
Yeah, probably an oversimplification is we're an estimating and job management software.
Okay.
That has changed and evolved, and it now entails quite a lot more than that. But really, we're an estimating and job management as our focus. So load your plans in, do your takeoffs, estimate using our software, using live supply price files, quote, schedule, order materials, accounting software, cost tracking, etc. So end to end, what generally I explain it to people is end to end software that for most people, that's all you need other than your accounting software. To run your business daily.
That's good. Is there any, I mean, I've heard you talk a bit and when we do workshops and stuff like that, and I've talked to clients that use you, so I know a bit about what you mentioned there. Are there any builders that come that you think, having just heard that spiel, would still be lost? That it's gibberish to, or every one of them would be like, oh, yep.
I mean, I think people understand estimating. I don't know if they necessarily know that quoting comes with estimating. I think they sometimes see estimating as a separate thing. And then job management, I think that they don't really understand what job management is. Job management is stuff that they
don't
do.
think that. I suppose some people would not believe or know of the fact that job management can be systemized.
Yeah, I mean, it's like schedule. Well, what do you mean schedule? It's just on my phone in my head. Why did you schedule?
I have that project and we got to order some stuff. I got that project.
Yeah, it's like, I budgeted about 100 grand or whatever, and we just get the invoices in and we send them off to our bookkeeper, and that's what it is. What do you mean job costing? What's job costing? Why is that in job management? Okay. Job costing is important because of X, Y, Z.
Right.
That's what job costing is. Those kind of things.
Yeah. Okay. So then let's dive down a bit deeper.
Yeah.
When does someone first enter something? Most of the time, well, let's look at your top performers because people want to be a top performer.
Yeah.
When are they entering a opportunity or a job, or at what stage is it being entered into BuildXact?
The really good ones, the first time you speak to a client, get it into BuildXact.
Okay. Because
from a lead point of view, before you've even entered into a real estimate, you can actually set someone up to use a customer portal. So you've had a conversation, you have some basic information from a customer, enter it into BuildXact into the lead management section, create them a customer portal. You can now say to them, hey, this is where everything you want is going to sit. So if you want to add pictures in there, I can send you some ideas, all of that stuff. You can message me all through here. Anyone on my team can see it.
Highly professional.
Exactly. And this is the problem. When you've got like some of the big boys like Metricon and stuff, I assume they have all this. For most people, it's like, how do I compete? If I can't compete on price. And if you're trying to compete on price, then, I don't have much more advice on that one. But how do I compete? I compete on professionalism. I compete on how good my service is and the extra little bits and bobs that I can offer against other builders, and getting something in a customer portal and start communicating as early as possible is sort of already bringing the customer down that sales cycle. And
I don't know what annoys me, but often when someone goes, like I'm not like a Metricon, and I'm thinking, I didn't mention Metricon.
I know.
Like, if you're measuring yourself against Metricon, even just saying that says you measure yourself against them, man, like you are so far behind a real competitor.
Yeah.
You know, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, but on that though, but you do hear that people say that. I was like, what makes you different? Oh, well, you know, they can call me whenever they want, or they can email me and I'll get back to them. And that's like, okay, what else?
Yeah,
just a personalized phone number. That's it.
I think after like the first 200 calls I had with builders years ago, we stopped asking them what makes you different, because it was like the same 5 things every time. And that's just so
that's the same thing.
And so I would just say to them, so most of the time guys say this, and they're like, that's
what makes you the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not making you different.
So they brilliant. I love that. Super professional, putting someone in when they're just making that first inquiry touch point with you, and then give them access on the other end, portal side of things. And then how does it progress? How does someone interact with the software, and I guess how does it make things easy from there on?
Yeah, so it really accelerates once you've got plans in the system. So as soon as you get plans, you load it into the system, you can start doing your estimates from there. Now, there's 2 different ways of doing it. It's doing a full estimate straight off the bat, which generally you see that more happening when people know they're going to win the work.
Okay.
Some people do it when they don't know they're going to win the work, and I'm just like, that's probably a waste of time. Or they use our system to punch out like a really quick estimate. So it's been referred to quick building estimate. You know, a few people call it different things, but you can use our system to take some simple measurements based on recipes and stuff that you've created. You can give a fairly good ballpark estimate on what that's going to be. So that's where you start ramping up. For sure.
And do you often see guys, this is probably where you start seeing guys allocate invoicing and services towards these projects or opportunities. How many guys do you see doing this? And of your peak performers, your top performers, are they doing this in terms of charging for consultation, charging for a quick building estimate, charging for a quote? What are you sort of seeing around those things?
I mean, it's hard for us to see visibility on if they're charging for a quote or not.
Okay.
But from my experience, when we've done events and stuff together, a lot of people are charging for quotes. And I think it does depend. I think the ones that are, you know, fighting away customers, they probably don't need to as much because they know they've won the work, or maybe they still do. But if you're not charging for a quote and you're just quoting to the everyday person, you're probably going to get a lot of work that doesn't go through and a lot of wasted time. So we would always try and educate them on, the process is use our system to do a really quick quote.
Yeah.
If you don't, just to give the customer a guideline, if they say yes, charge them.
Yeah.
Go away, do a proper one, which might take you a couple of hours, 3 hours maybe, to do properly. And then you've got a bit of buy-in from the client to warrant you investing that time to do that.
Definitely. Sure. And I've talked to other guys in the podcast about making those micro commitments. And if you can get that prospect to just make little micro commitments, it helps them buy in more.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's a sales cycle, isn't it? How you know, what's the point of spending all that time if you haven't got some level of commitment, you know, to go through?
Definitely. So,
sorry, just on that, if I can add to it as well, something I just realised. If you go online and say how to get the best price from a builder or something like that, which people do all the time. Yeah. I would do that if I was probably trying to get a best price. Maybe not now, I know the industry, but if you did that online, it would probably tell you, get 3 quotes.
Yes.
So there will be people that will have a preferred builder, and all they will be doing for 2 other people is just price matching or shopping around. Who gives me the best? This person I want to go with, how close are they? Yeah, they're about the same price. Cool, I'll go with the one I want. Or who's going to give me the cheapest? I'll just go with them. Yeah. I don't really care if they're using premium paint. I don't really care if they're using premium fixtures and fit. Like, I just want the cheapest possible price. And if you're just shopping around but purely based on quotes, then, you know, you're in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's good for prospective clients to hear.
Yeah.
And builders.
Yeah.
Man, it's just crazy hearing stories around that. I'm sure you guys hear it as well all the time. So you've quoted. I'm using BuildXact. I've just saved a huge amount of time quoting. It's gone ahead. Then how do I interact with the software from there on in terms of project management? Yeah.
So we generate the quote from our system as well. So you put all the estimate data into the quote, and that's another customizable area. So sorry, I know I'm jumping a bit behind, but I'm not sure if you've seen how builders' quotes look a lot of the time. They're not using any software. They're not great because they're using Word or some sort of Excel to push things in.
I've been shocked.
And, like I've seen...
Especially when someone says, I do a really detailed quote.
Yeah.
And it comes to you in like 6 different fonts.
Yeah. And where it's like 2 pages and it's like 200 grand for 2 pages of quote. And the first page is half of it is your logo and some text. And then the rest of it is just a couple of things like do this, do that, do that. Here's the total. And I'm just like, what is that? Like, how are you? There's no way if someone gives me that quote and someone else gives me a 6-page breakdown with pictures and images and not pictures and images, same thing, text and real deep dive into what I'm actually getting. I'm like, that's the better one. Yeah. And something I always say on...
and even if they cost more, it's like, well, yeah, duh. Look what I'm getting.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I always say this. When you call up a bank, you call up a car show, whatever you call up, the salesperson is the nicest person that business is ever going to give you. In terms of you're going to get the quickest responses, you're going to get the most up-to-date information. So if that process is rubbish, what's the rest of it going to be?
Yeah.
Because that's when this is what you're giving me when you want 200 grand, 300 grand, 700 grand, 1.2 mil. And if this is what you're giving me when you want my work, what are you going to give me when you've got my money? And it always goes down from there. For most businesses, very rarely get better, on the after the fact. So yeah, the quoting part, I wanted to touch on that because I thought that was a really good one because a lot of people don't realize that that's the case. But sorry, your question was job management. Where do you get started from there, was it?
Yeah, so you've won the job. You mentioned that your system can produce the quote, and you've talked about back-end linking costs, live data. So I'm assuming that is live numbers from industry. Yeah. Bunnings. That's the big one up here. What's one down south?
Well, Bunnings, the main ones that we've got that link into our system, Bunnings, Mitre 10 and Dalsons. Yeah. So Dalsons, Vic and New South Wales, and they've got some of the places up in Queensland with Cairns Hardware and stuff. I'm not sure if they link in, but Bunnings and Mitre 10 are the ones that generally cover most of the country, and Dalsons more particular in Vic and New South Wales. So they estimate using live pricing. So if you've built a template and you've got those systems and processes in your business to make sure you've done that correctly, you're getting live pricing in. So in theory, assuming it's not like a big lead time between you estimating and signing the quote, the prices should be accurate as close as you can get them. Then when you start the project, scheduling the work in, making sure you're notifying the appropriate trades of when they need to be on site. Again, that kind of all comes with the systems and processes as well. Like systems and process isn't just inside your business of what software you're using and when you estimate. It's like, well, if I need to get Windows, when do I need to start that conversation? Based on that conversation, when I need to have another conversation. So it's all these things that when you build a schedule out, it's not just when they need to arrive and do the job. It's when do I need to order? When do I need to finalize variations? So that's the first thing I would start, is having a scheduled template that you have got all your information in so that your job runs efficiently when it starts.
Just hearing this, I feel like I'm starting to swim against the current with piranhas. So I can't even imagine how someone would do it. Like, it just makes absolute sense. You would need software to help you with that. How does someone manage multiple projects, keep it profitable, sleep at night?
We were talking about, I'm going to Toowoomba today to a Master Builders event. The first Master Builders roadshow I did in Toowoomba, it was a young couple, and I can't think of his name now. And his schedule was on pieces of paper on his wall. Like, that's what he said. He said, literally, it's all over my wall, just pieces of paper.
Okay. With all the weather we've seen in the last couple of years and how that, who was it? One of our guys was like, we had 100 days of rain on one project. Like, how many times do you have to update piece of paper? Like,
cutting down a lot of trees, I think.
Yeah. You'd be buying boxes of pens or buying pens by the box load. Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, and it's like, you can imagine that it's probably not updated every day. It's probably done when they can. The schedule is probably already out of date the moment they start work. Someone can't make it. There's material delays, delivery issues. Yeah. So someone's got to come back tomorrow instead. And you're going to go back to the office when you're on site and update that piece of paper because you haven't got an office that you're just transporting around with you site to site. So it's always out of date generally.
And we update this is one thing that blew my mind when one of our builders was just mapped it out for me to understand. He's like, so I had this happen, a rain day. That meant that this couldn't happen today. I have to now call them. Now they've got other jobs booked in that they've guaranteed they will be there. The day after tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday. So I can't get them booked in until Wednesday. Now, everyone else that I had booked in to time it after that, they're also not available. So now, rather than them coming in straight after, which I had scheduled, then I come in a week later.
Yeah.
So things are going to be sitting still on site, and I can't do that until I do that. And it's like, wait, that was one day. What the?
I know. It's insane. Oh. And this is why I always say this, like, if you're not trying to win these really high margin work, like, being a builder is stressful because that's the real example of it. You know, you have a waterproofer that can't come in. You can't do the tiling.
Yeah.
Can't put the shower in. You can't put, all of that stuff gets pushed out.
Yeah. And then you've got the whole, you're often having to pay ahead. You know, you've ordered all that stuff. You've paid down payments for the suppliers, for the installers, for trades. And then it gets pushed out. So your stage payment gets pushed out, but you're sitting in the red, and it's just like, man. So
yeah. You're completely correct. That's the crazy part of it. Yeah. You know, I'm probably going off topic a little bit, but that's also where finding the right trades come into it. Do they have backups? Do they have and again, all this is process and who you're recruiting into your business.
And how loyal are they to you? I mean,
ideally, you don't want to have someone that's just one man.
You
know, if they're sick or something goes wrong.
That's
but
a problem.
It's all schedule based. Like, it's all how you structure your schedule. Do you have any contingency plans in your schedule? How are you managing that whole process? Because things do happen.
Yeah.
You know, no matter how great you are, they're still going to happen on a project. There's no way of avoiding it.
I know just here locally, you see the difference between there was literally, I was talking like 50 meters from each other, two buildings. One was getting renovated, and it just looked like a lot of the work was being done outside.
Yeah.
And then there was another building that was being built, a 3-story basement car park, super high-end builder, well known on the coast here. I've never seen something like that go up so fast.
Yeah.
It was like, holy moly. There was always, every day, someone on site working. And then they built one down the street, also just, while this other one that was just getting the exterior fixed up took, like, no joke, 2 years.
Yeah. That
scaffolding was sitting around it. And I was like, this guy's like in and out, brand new building, 10 months. Yeah. Well, like, I mean, like, day to day, outside of the sales aspect of being a builder, what is a builder? They're project managers. You know, you're not, most of them, if they want to grow their business to be successful, they're not there on the tools all day long. So definitely, you're taking the trade element out of that conversation. You're project manager. If you're a good project manager, guess what? The project gets built quicker. So is that something you've often seen, guys coming to you on the tools, and this system helps them sort of transition off the tools? Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's really, really hard to grow your business to a point where you can get off the tools without using systems, because you need to focus on your business to bring those in. Unless you're lucky, unless you do really good work and all of a sudden clients are just falling at your doorstep, which isn't the norm. Yeah, exactly. But if you're working on site at home all night, you get up in the morning, you're up at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, whatever it is, you're on site at 7:30, get started at 8, you're working all day. Yeah. How are you growing your business to get to the point where you can get off the tools and you can hire someone to, that's the problem. It's just this, perpetual. At some point you need to stop one of those cycles and then you can start a new one, of different, It's the image of the hamster in the wheel. I was reading an interesting study just the other day about hamsters and how, like, they, who was the guy? He put hamster wheels in fields, and hamsters would go there and run on them. Like, they had this gravitate towards exercise, and that feels good, but it's choice. When they put a hamster on a wheel by choice, and it was connected to another hamster wheel where a hamster was on that wheel and couldn't get off, then the effects were polar opposite. Oh, right, okay. Yeah, that was fascinating. Yeah. It was kind of talking about the positives of exercise, but obviously we have to choose. Exercise and then stress. Like, stress is good if you want it to be good. Yeah. So what's your perspective of stress? Does it produce something good,
Yeah.
or, oh man, I'm so stressed, I can't take it.
Yeah. Your mindset, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
So that's fascinating. That must be another thing you guys see a lot of, the mindset difference between your 1%ers and the guys at the bottom of the food chain.
Yeah. Like, even when I'm at events and going to things like before people even use us, it's one of those things when I start talking to someone straight away, I kind of know within a few minutes where they're at. And this isn't like an age thing. You see young guys like this as well. And a lot of the time it's all in my head, and they'll do that kind of thing. There's no way your spreadsheet would be better than mine. And, and this is kind of the thing that
I've been building my spreadsheet for the last couple
my
years.
Spreadsheet's got every single thing in it. Like, no problem at all. I tried to give specific examples in case the people listen, but you'll see people that, talking about the software in general, you'll be like, okay, well, this is going to help you do this, this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And it's like, well, I like to do it this exact specific way. And I'm just like, there's no hope for you if you don't get that mentality out of your head.
Yeah.
We're not going to do everything specific like how Excel does it. Excel's a really powerful tool. We're not an Excel sheet.
Yeah.
We're an estimating and job management project management software.
Yeah.
Use the system and it'll help you in 100 other ways. But if you get caught on this one thing, you like that you can click on Excel and enter a formula in. Okay, cool.
Well done.
Yeah. It's like that there's such a mentality thing there that you have to get over. How you do things right now is how you want to do things forever. You have to be open to change.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then, like any business like that.
Yeah, that's true. So back to project managing, every rain day, things need to be scheduled. Is it, if I change one thing, it then has a follow-on effect automatically in the system?
Depends how you set it up. Okay. So you can create dependency lines or automatic dependencies, which basically means you move one task out. Any task that's linked to that will also push out. Yeah. So I used the tiling example, waterproofing tiling. That needs to come first, obviously. Yeah. You don't want to tile over, tile without doing that. So you can create that to happen. Yeah. You don't need to do that though. You can have it that can do things just manual. So it's really up to the user of how they want to utilize the system.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That just sounds way more helpful. If I have to go, cool, I'm going to update this, that pushes everything out, and then there's notifications that get sent out.
Yeah. So you can either have timed notifications that go out at a certain date time, or you can do a manual one. So if you've just made a change, you can drill into it. There's already a subby or a supplier or someone in your team assigned to that. Yeah. You can just type a notification in, hit send, and it'll go straight out. So while it's happening, you're on your phone or you're on a tablet or PC, Mac or laptop, whatever, you just go into it, send the notification, done. You're done. You don't have to go home to the office and move a piece of paper on the wall and write it out.
Yeah. Incredible. And so, and then what are some of the, let's say I keep managing a project, we finish it. What are some of the key benefits that you see guys are having reaching the end of a project and just having that data there?
Well, the ones that use the system well and spend the time on it, they know exactly where their profit margins are at. And that's the big one. That's important at the end of the project when you know how much money you've made, but it's more important during the project. Like not knowing where your project is going is insane. I was at a Master Builders New South Wales event a couple of years ago now, spoke to a guy who was I think it was in Liverpool at one of their events, sat next to this guy, just started using BuildXact. I was talking to him, he's like, I just started using it because one of my friends wasn't using any software. He did 2 projects, lost money on both of them, had no idea he was losing money on them. He said, got to the end of the project, after 2 projects were done, realized he lost money, but had no idea he was losing money. He's basically paying someone else to build their home for them. So he's like, here, I'll give you 10 grand and I'm going to build your house.
Oh my goodness. I'm sure it was more than 10 grand.
Oh yeah. This is kind of the problem, is that at the end of the project, it's all great and knowing how well you did and you can look back and make changes and things like that. But it's during the project that's the real, because if you've made a mistake somewhere, what can I do now? Well, I can maybe negotiate longer terms. I can try and win more back on maybe selling variations with bigger margins. I can do all these things to try and claw back some of that profit margin in my job. And then I might be quoting right now on something that I've done wrong.
Yeah. So I can say I made that feedback loop is quick.
So say something went wrong 2 months into the project. I've got another month, 2 months to go. Yeah. But in that 2 month period, I've quoted 6 other jobs. Yeah. And I might have lost money in all those quote. So that as you go is super important.
Yeah, that is very, very important. And like I say, if you don't have the data, then you can't make accurate decisions. You're flying blind.
Well, imagine someone just sat there and handed you a bunch of invoices and said, "How's your job going?" Like you had this estimate of like 400 grand. You've got 35 invoices sitting there with just $1 value on it.
Yeah.
How would you go and do that without the data being ready for you? It's very difficult. And it's one of those things people always say, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to do it and I'm going to do this, that, the other. And then you get home, you need to quote, you need to organize stuff for the morning, you need to get back to a customer, you need to do a quote, you want to spend some sort of time with your family. That bit gets left all the time, always left, because people are always focused on winning more work.
Yeah.
So you just have that crap data if you're not utilizing a system. It doesn't even need to be us. Use something, to give you something that's going to help you make better business decisions. And if you don't do any of that stuff, and if you talk to all those 1% guys like you, think there is no way they would run a system that doesn't show them numbers. Not a chance.
Yeah, no way. They've systemized everything.
Or they just have someone else that does it for them. So if you don't want to do it yourself, you don't want to use
they've
the system.
systemized themselves out of the business.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Get a good bookkeeper.
Yeah.
To do it. So they're entering all your data and you just go into the system and see it.
Yeah, that's important. Good bookkeeper is very important.
Absolutely. I think now more than ever, it's like getting people outside of your business that knows what they're doing.
Absolutely. That's something in terms of those key performers. Let's keep, as top guys, when we chatting to them, you're chatting to them. And it's fascinating how often I'll talk to these third-party people that help builders, and they're like, "Oh yeah," and they'll mention like this like awesome client. I'm like, we work with them, and I agree, they're pretty awesome. It's like wow, like it just shows you these top performers are associating with and getting the who, not the how. At the end of the day,
they're top performers in every area. It's not just they estimate really well. Yeah. They have really good marketing processes. They have, and they use you guys for that. They have good bookkeeping processes, and they use Don and Blake or Exact Accounting or someone like that specialize in the industry. They have all of these things, so everyone knows who these good clients are. Like when we run those events, and sometimes I was like, who will give a free ticket out, and it's like Don was giving the same person a free ticket. I was like,
I know we've done events, and it's like, and we're analyzing like who's tickets have been sold from which links and stuff like that, and so you can see who's bringing people, and it's like so and so's got more, and you're like, but like
they're all the same.
I know like 30% of those people, like
yeah, for sure.
It just shows. Okay, and so one thing I want to come back to as well is a few things actually. I'll come back to feedback in a sec. You guys are really big on onboarding and almost like constant onboarding, like constant educating, constant. What are some of the key things you guys are able to offer with that? When someone goes, cool, I've got the software, how do I use it? Yeah. And how do I get better at it?
Yeah. Well, we have free training that people can book at any time they want. They can do that. Look, for me personally, I like the videos. Watch the videos. Pause, play, do at the same time. That's how I learn the best. Yeah. Some people just like having that one-to-one kind of connection and talking through it, so they can do that. They need to speak to us to organize that. They can go online, click a time, book it in, done. And like I was doing it yesterday with the event and showing people how to do it. There was times available today, so you can get a really quick turnaround to get help and support in the software. The hardest part is getting people to do that.
Okay.
So we offer the support. We want to help people, and obviously from our side, it's in the best interest that people use BuildXact and get immersed into it, because they're more likely to stay with us. They're more likely to help their business process, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And then we have partners that take some of that responsibility in certain areas. So, Don and Blake at, Not So Silent Business Partner, Exact Accounting from the bookkeeping perspective. We have estimators that use BuildXact or can pass a BuildXact format to the builder.
Okay.
So it really just depends on what that person wants and how deep they want to go. Some people just don't want to use us for estimating at all. They just want an estimator to do it, and it sends it into their BuildXact, and they just make the tuning on the estimate.
And then just using it for project management, really.
Yeah, or make some fine tuning of the estimates, develop the quote, maybe put their selections and stuff in to send out to the customer and stuff. So there's a whole heap of support that comes from us internally,
Yeah.
our support team, training and that kind of thing, partners as well jumping in, and just people linking into our software, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome you guys offer that. And I know you guys probably see it all the time. We definitely see it. Our clients who lean in more do better.
Yeah.
And it's like, you think it's a no-brainer, but you have to keep reminding them. So often I'll reach out and be like, hey, we haven't caught up for a while. Let's catch up. Let's just talk about ideas, opportunities, like, you know, and you guys would see the same. Who's turning up to these calls? And then don't complain. I mean, you probably have that, you know, that one guy that's like, oh, it doesn't work for me. And it's like, cool. How many one-on-ones did you book? How many videos did you watch? Nah,
I haven't got time for
I didn't have time.
I haven't got time for that. I was at an event a few weeks ago and someone said to me, it's so annoying that, I won't say the exact specific thing because in case they listen, I don't want to, you know. But you haven't got this thing that I really want. It'd be great if you had this, da 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 da. I was like, that's been there since before I started BuildXact. I've been there 5.5 years. You've been using it for 2 years. It's been there for 6 years. Yeah. You just haven't asked the question. You haven't got the training to do it. Yeah. And I've seen, you know, we use Salesforce from a, you know, CRM sort of perspective. Yeah. And I've seen accounts call for training, like us calling them to book in training. Yeah. Call for training.
That's good that you have that history there.
Yeah, we can see. So we want people to get trained up. It's in their benefits and our benefits, everyone's benefit to, you know, use the system. But some people start and they go, all right, tell me what I need to do. Cool, I'll book in training. Let's go. I'll learn it. Yeah. Cool, what's my next step? And if you speak to us well, we'll give you tips on how best to learn it and things like that, rather than you just going off and doing it yourself. And
I think sometimes they don't necessarily know what to call or don't know what to ask or say, or they don't know what they don't know. But I find, because we have guys like that, but it's like, just turn up to the call. Like when Richard reaches out to you and sends you something to approve, or, you know, a new campaign we're going to run. Yeah. There's always here, click the link to book a catch up. Yeah. It's like, just book it. Yeah. We'll ask the question sometimes and get you thinking, and we'll find a new opportunity. So completely important.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to lean into this kind of stuff. Like, so software now is at a point where if you start using BuildXact or probably any other software and you learn at a really slow pace, the software is just growing faster than you're keeping up. That's generally what happens anyway. Yeah. So when we bring in these really cool features, you know, once or twice a year, there's big features. Yeah. You're not going to be able to go in and use it unless you've sort of covered off some of these little areas first, because it builds into it. So just spend the time. Jump. You know, even if it's just you just want to sit, you know, sit in bed before you dive asleep, just watch a 20-minute video, or, you know, you're driving and just listening to some audio and someone talking through it, you know.
I think that's helpful for guys to remember, is like, because often the excuse, I don't have time, is because they think they need to stop, put everything aside, and turn my phone off. Like, that is ideal, but I understand you might not have the time. You're busy working out of that, you know, always running on the treadmill sort of thing. So, but if you start by driving and pushing play on something, and you go, cool, when I get back to the office, I'm now more motivated because I can see the key benefit from that. Yeah. I'm going to jump in and make that change. Yeah. And then I can fast forward, pause, watch, you know, replay, and implement it.
You don't even need to look at the screen sometimes. Sometimes just hearing what they're doing and talking about is enough. And, you know, I think the people that are really good with organizing processes and time also organize processes and time for learning as well. And they know that you can't just... You know, it's not
like
just in your business,
making time to sharpen the axe. Just keep cutting.
Yeah. Well, I caught up with Paul from Arca a couple of months ago, and I was actually amazed by how efficient he is with time. And he was telling me all these audiobooks he listens to, and he's like, he operates like a lawyer in like 6-minute increments. That's the impression I got. Like how efficient those guys need to be. I think it's lawyers that do 6 minutes.
I don't get the impression that lawyers are efficient sometimes.
Well, I think how they bill is efficient.
How they bill is efficient.
That's kind of what I was getting at. Yeah. But I mean, having that time to go in and learn, and think, you can see why Arca has done really well with the two guys there that are running it. Because they know exactly what they're doing, when they're doing it, when they're learning, when they're, you know, and that's a continuous thing.
And that we've seen that working with them just flow throughout their whole team. They want everyone upskilling, learning, being better.
I left that conversation and thought, Jesus, I'm dumb. I need to spend more time.
Yeah, Paul is a great operator. Another one of probably one of the last things I want to jump on is feedback.
Yeah.
You guys are massive on, and this is something I don't just hear from you. I'm not hearing it from BuildXact itself. I'm hearing it from guys out there.
Yeah.
Just how great you and your team are on listening to people. And there's open channels there. It's okay, we want feedback. We invite feedback. And then how quickly you guys act on that feedback. Talk me through that. How are you guys able to do that, and why?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where there's going to be certain things we can jump on a lot quicker than others when there's, big wholesale sort of changes in the software. But we understand that as a software that is a subscription model, we need people to give their feedback to help us build the things that they want, because that obviously keeps them more likely to be signed up to BuildXact. They get more value out of it. The more value they have, the better impact that's obviously having on their business. But I think we want that feedback to come in as open way as possible. So there's a Facebook group now. I think it's about 1,800 people on there. Most of them are BuildXact customers that are in there, and that's a really useful channel. So if anyone isn't joined onto that, I would recommend doing it. It's the BuildXact building block, and that's where our product team are in there. Our head of product, I forget his exact title. Chris is. So sorry, Chris, if you listen to this. His exact title, but he's in there, like jumping in and sort of answering questions and asking for feedback. And that is something that we are really trying to encourage people to do. The one thing, I know you've heard that we take feedback on. The one thing that I would say that as an industry, it's not very good is giving that feedback. Sometimes it's kind of like I wish this could do it, but not actually vocalizing that.
Right. Okay.
We need people to be, and sometimes I think people can see it as, I don't want to complain. It's like, no, complain.
Well, I'm sure someone else will mention it, or
but we want more of that. We want to know exactly what people are after. And I think, I come to some of these events that we do and stuff, and people will be like, I had this question and I've been waiting to come and see you. And they'll hold off asking the question for like 2 months just to come and see me in person to ask the question. Like, just let us know earlier.
I've actually seen that several times at events where you're speaking and you're halfway through explaining something and someone's just got an itchy foot or something like that. That they like, well, I've been trying to do this and I've got this problem. And you take it so well. You're like, man, excellent. Please, can we chat after this? I want to get that feedback back to our, what do you call people?
Product team.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's without proper feedback, it's really hard for us to know. We have an idea, obviously, what to build, but the more feedback we have, the more it validates what we're doing and gives us an area to focus on. And what we'll tend to do with product and updates is we'll release sort of an MVP, minimum product that is value, and then we take the feedback, we add on, take the feedback, add on. So we're not just building this thing and then go, what do you think? This is 6 months of development. So, like the app, for example, there's a lot of work going into what's coming at the app as well. So, and that was directly related to the feedback that came out of it.
Epic. Julian, man, thank you.
No problem, mate.
Thanks for walking me through that. For the guys listening to this who want to get in touch, how do they get in touch, and what does that first step look like?
So it'll really depend on what they want to do and how far they're along with it. I always say just get a demo. Demo's about half an hour it's going to take.
I can find a demo links to book it in on the website?
Just BuildXact.com, and you can go in and depending where you're listening to, it'll direct you to the appropriate page. Trial or demo. My generally I say book a demo in, get a run through. It's a one-to-one. You'll get a very good understanding about how it's going to be a good fit for your business. Then go and sign up for a trial, have a play around with it, and see how you go. And then make sure you get the training if you do sign
make
up.
Sure you get the training and give feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. Julian,
Julian, thank you very much.
Brilliant, mate. Thanks for having me.